people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
To the motherfucking relay, we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, and now it's time for our weekend recap of this weekend's action, this weekend's madness that has completely altered my perception. A fighter that was seemingly doing everything wrong in the build-up, behaving in a way that doesn't inspire confidence, doing all the things in the build-up of this fight you don't want to see a fighter do.
Ryan beat the shit out of Devin.
The fuck? He shocked the world. He shocked me. And recapping this, or trying to, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. At the start of the match, Ryan Garcia comes out hard and fast, confident in his power, flurrying at Devin Haney.
Or flurries.
And at the very start of the fight, it looked like Devin Haney was in trouble. It looked like some of those flurries, a couple of punches got in, and Devin couldn't take them. It looked like he was in trouble early on as he shot his jab and found that jab was countered by Ryan's left hook, establishing early on that he's faster than Devin.
Fast.
And he's stronger than Devin.
Strong.
But resumes aside, accolades aside, physically, he is the better physical specimen.
That Devin can't take a punch.
After what was an early scare in the first round, where Devin was seemingly buzzed by Ryan Garcia, and what punches got in, Devin gains control. And for at least 4 or 5 rounds,
he's in control.
Using his jab and landing his jab upstairs, down the middle.
He's got no power.
No power. At no point in this fight did Devin Haney ever have Ryan in trouble, buzzed, rattled on Queer Street. I mean, at no point. And he was landing his shots. He was landing his punches.
But he's got no fucking power.
What is difficult for me to wrap my mind around is that in terms of nuts and bolts boxing and fight mechanics, Devin has better mechanics than Ryan Garcia, but he's not a better physical specimen than Ryan Garcia. That for all of Ryan's faults,
he's still stronger, he's still faster, he's still more durable. And Devin, he can't crack an egg.
It wasn't a spectacular display of boxing, nuts and bolts boxing, from Ryan. It's not something spectacular that Ryan Garcia did. Put simply, it's that Devin can't take a punch. It wasn't Ryan's great display of boxing or some well-thought-out strategy. It's that Ryan, whenever he did touch Devin, whenever he did get in with a couple of punches, Devin couldn't take them.
Whenever Ryan touched him, as soon as Ryan touched him. That's what was noticeable.
These were not well-executed, short, sharp combinations. These were flurries. Uncontrolled flurries. And so long as 1 or 2 punches from those flurries got in, Devin was on Queer Street repeatedly, unable to recover. And that if Ryan was just a little bit more accurate with his combinations, this fight wouldn't have went to the cards. It wouldn't have went the distance.
I'm not impressed with Ryan.
Which may seem like a case of sour grapes, but looking back, it's not that Ryan Garcia was so good, it's that Devin's punch resistance was so bad.
Guy's got a glass jaw.
There's no two ways about it. As soon as Ryan Garcia let his hands go, that's as soon as it took him to hurt Devin Haney, to drop Devin Haney. And there's a reason for that.
How many times did he get dropped in this fight? What was it, 3 or 4?
After the fight, Devin Haney's father and trainer Bill Haney said, Ryan's a good fighter. We knew he was playing all along. It was a publicity stunt. The weight, the craziness, good fighter. Devin showed heart, he showed grit, and we want a rematch. With that, you can think
what you want.
Ryan is better than advertised, and you can think that Devin was brave because he wouldn't stay down, he kept getting up. You can think whatever you want to think, but if you want to know what I think, and you're here,
you are.
So I'll assume that you do. My opinion of Ryan didn't go up. It's my opinion of Devin.
It went down.
To me, Ryan is still the fighter that got floored by Luke Campbell. He's not a particularly hard puncher. He's still a fighter who struggled greatly with a C-level Oscar Duarte.
Those things didn't change.
Those fights still happened the way they happened. Those performances still were the way they were. And that was not all of a sudden undone last night. No, my opinion of Ryan hasn't changed. It's my opinion of Devin.
That's what changed.
Too much hype. If he seemed like the natural choice, the logical choice going in, that he should be able to deal with this guy, and he does anything but deal with the guy, it's because there was too much hype around him, too much hyperbole.
He's not who we thought he was, who I thought he was.
The signs were there when he gets hurt by a Jorge Linares and fails to dispatch him, where so many others have knocked out Jorge Linares.
Devin couldn't because Devin can't fucking punch.
He can't punch, and he can't take a punch. That's why Linares hurt him.
That's why Loma beat him.
And I stand by that. I still think Vasil Lomachenko beat Devin Haney, but Devin was allowed to skate, to make off like a bandit, with a decision that he did not deserve.
He lost that fucking fight.
He was allowed to hang on to his unbeaten record a while longer, and even if he looked spectacular with Regis Prograis, what happened yesterday, what happened last night, is not what happens to an elite level boxer.
It's not.
Because how are you an elite level boxer if you can't punch and you can't take a punch? On some level, you have to be able to take a punch. You have to be able to endure, withstand what gets in, because something is going to.
I'm selling all my stock.
All of it, because what happened last night at the hands of Ryan Garcia is not what happens to an elite level boxer. That if you're as good as everybody says you are, and you're as good as you think you are, then last night's fight don't happen. If it did,
Had everybody fooled.
he's a hype job. All the hype around him going into this fight led many to believe, myself included, that this should be an easy night's work for Devin Haney. If we were under that impression, that's because there was far more hype around Devin than ability, than durability.
He's got none.
And to be an elite level fighter, to compete at the highest levels of the sport, you need durability. You need to be able to take a punch, and you need to be able to give a punch. No, you don't need to be the strongest puncher out there.
Not the strongest, but Devin can't crack an egg.
Maybe thinking to yourself, well, what about the weight? What role did that play in last night's contest? That where Devin made the 140-pound limit, Ryan Garcia didn't.
Doesn't matter.
Floyd Mayweather was a naturally smaller fighter than Oscar De La Hoya. He was a naturally smaller fighter than Canelo Alvarez.
And who do they like in Devin Haney to the most?
Floyd Mayweather. Sorry to say, here on Sunday morning, he's no Floyd Mayweather.
Because Floyd could take a punch.
Devin can't. And that's all I saw yesterday. It was not a spectacular display of boxing from Ryan Garcia. Put simply, he was just faster and stronger. And as soon as he let his hands go, that's as soon as it took him to hurt Devin Haney. Because Devin can't take a punch.
He's got a glass jaw.
He can box a bit, but he's got a glass jaw. The immediate aftermath. Unbeaten up-and-comer in the men's welterweight division, Benn reacted by saying, "Great performance from Garcia. I called it. Credit to Devin Haney for getting up off the floor 2 times." To which Ryan responded, "Let's run it in London at the O2. I will fracture your spleen and then eat it. Shout out to London." To which Conor responded, "Don't be another loudmouth like Javoompa Loompa. If you are really about it, let's do it next, and I will smash your teeth down your neck. You wanker."
Well, the Haneys want a rematch.
But should there be one? Should there be a second fight after what we saw yesterday? Because what we saw yesterday was plain as day. It was self-explanatory. Would it or could it go any differently in a second fight when Devin's issue doesn't seem to be his fight mechanics per se, it's his durability, it's his wherewithal.
He has none.
I remember when Jorge Linares clipped him with that right hand. Jorge Linares has always had one of the better right hands in the lightweight division. And he got in with a really hard right hand on Devin, and I remember it took Devin about 2 or 3 rounds to finally recover from it and get his legs back under him. And that was at 135. Up here at 140, just 2 fights into that 140-pound campaign, we're seeing the same lack of durability, the same lack of wherewithal.
What is it?
It's 2 things. It's 2 things primarily. It's that Devin Haney is a pure boxer. And those of you that follow this channel will know that I'm not big on pure boxers, but I made an exception for Devin, that normally outside fighters and movers and jabbers, these economic safety-first fighters really aren't my cup of tea. There's a reason for that.
I'm of the opinion they fight that way because they're not durable, and they know they're not durable.
They're not durable, and they're not comfortable on the inside, so they spend the majority of a round and the majority of a fight pot-shotting from the outside, trying to stay out of trouble, which doesn't always yield the best aesthetic for a match.
Boring.
Oftentimes, there are so many sweet science snobs who try to chastise anyone who criticizes pure boxers like Devin for being boring.
There's more to it.
Pure boxers like Devin like to stay on the outside the majority of a round and the majority of a fight because they're not durable enough. to bang on the inside.
That's one.
They're economic within a round, only really getting out 1 or 2 punches at a time because they ain't got the lungs. They ain't got the cardio for a fast pace.
That's two.
And oftentimes, when they're getting off their shots and what shots get in, there's really nothing on them because pure boxers don't sit on their punches. They're fighting on their toes, on the balls of their feet the majority of the time.
That's three.
I do not like pure boxers. I am no fan of outside fighters, but I made an exception for Devin because if nothing else, he has shown ambition.
I gave him a pass.
Because I liked that about him, even if I don't really like his base style or any other fighters like him. It clouded my judgment because what is characteristic among pure boxers is that they're not really durable, which is why they spend so much time trying to stay on the outside and stay out of trouble. Pure boxers characteristically don't take the best punch. You're talking about Tony Harrison. You're talking about Zelfa Barrett.
They're chinny.
More particular to Devin Haney's situation, Devin was always a very big lightweight, and even at super lightweight,
He was big.
what speaks to his lack of punch resistance is how much weight has this kid been cutting to get down to 135, to get down to 140? Because if you're wondering why he's so chinny, that could be why. You cut far too much weight to get down there.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
So he can have a size advantage.
Same reason everybody else is doing it, so that they can be a little taller and a little longer, and the night of when they rehydrate, they can be a bit heavier than the other guy. It's a ploy to fight naturally smaller fighters.
That's why they do it.
And the reason I never pigeonhole Devin Haney for it is because he's not the only one. The vast majority of guys in a division, in a sport right now, are all doing this, but when Devin Haney exhibits a lack of punch resistance, a gross lack of durability, perhaps that's why. You ain't supposed to be down there at 135. You're not supposed to be down there at 140. The reason you can't take a punch is because your durability suffers from cutting so much weight.
That's one of the signs.
Cutting that much weight on a regular basis for extended periods of time comes at the expense of a fighter's durability. Maybe the reason that Devin's never really been able to take a shot is because of that.
Can he recover?
Well, I don't want to make any bold proclamations just yet, knee-jerk reactions, or be a slave to the moment like so many often are, but what we're talking about here is not a mechanical issue.
It's not a nuts and bolts thing. It's a physicality thing.
Not a strategy thing.
It's like what we saw from Tony Harrison at junior middleweight for years. Here you have a guy who's got a great jab, great movement, good boxer.
He's got some knockouts too, 21 of them. But the guy could never take a punch. Oftentimes he would seemingly be the more polished boxer in the ring with the likes of a Jarrett Hurd or a Jermel Charlo.
Just end up getting knocked out by those guys.
I think about that, and then I think about Devin. Did he achieve more than a Tony Harrison, than a Zelfa Barrett, and some of these other pure boxers that are out there? Yes, you know, he is a 2-division champion, and he was once undisputed, so he achieved more.
But what can he achieve now?
Even more bizarre than this past weekend's outcome is that WBC President Mauricio Suleiman says congratulations to Ryan Garcia, defying all obstacles and winning a huge fight. Congratulations to Devin Haney for showing his huge heart and class, just as in Corrales versus Castillo 2, with the challenger not making weight, Haney remains WBC champion.
What?
I understand the logic. I remember when WBC super lightweight champion Erica Farias moved up to welterweight to challenge Cecilia Breakhouse. She lost the Breakhouse fight but remained a champion at 140 because the fight didn't take place at 140. It took place at 147.
That's the logic here.
Devin Haney going in was WBC champion at 140, but last night's fight didn't take place at 140, and because it didn't, it doesn't affect his status at 140.
Wow.
So what's he gonna do now? Pursue a unification match with Subriel Matias? You know that I've never liked his chances against Subriel Matias. I've maintained Subriel Matias' volume and aggression and his power. It's all wrong for Devin.
More so now.
I had faced some criticism in circles, small ones, for standing by that Subriel Matias stylistically and physically would prove to be too much for Devin Haney.
Yesterday was confirmation.
Here is a fight where going in, you are so widely favored to win. Among most of the fans and the bookkeepers, the odds makers, they all favored Devin to win. And look at what happened with Ryan. What could happen with Subriel would be catastrophic.
Stay away from him.
Trying to wrap my mind around what I saw No, I don't all of a sudden have a high opinion of Ryan. Ryan is still the guy that got knocked down by a non-puncher in Luke Kimball and greatly struggled with an Oscar Duarte, a C-tier Oscar Duarte, and those things didn't change because he beat up Devin yesterday. What did change is my perception of Devin, because if you are who you say you are, then that is not supposed to happen.
But it did.
If it did, it's because you're not as good as we thought you were, as elite as you think you are.
Don't chalk it up to an occupational hazard or these things just happen. No, if everybody's perception of the fight going in was one way and the exact opposite happens, it needs to be reconciled.
Needs to be explained. The only explanation is this kid can't punch and he can't take a punch. And under those circumstances, you're only going to get so far. The World Boxing Council may allow you to continue to reign as WBC champion, but to do what? To go get your ass kicked by Subriel? What about Teofimo Lopez? You got to think about the Teofimo Lopez fight differently now, because even if Devin has the right style for the job, he ain't durable.
Teofimo ain't got to hit this guy but so many times to put him down.
Tony Harrison, who I just mentioned, he had the right base style for Jermell Charlo, and for long spells in their fights, he was outboxing him. Up until Jermell got in with a hard shot, and that was all she wrote. You know that could happen between Devin and Teofimo because Teofimo's a more accurate puncher than a Ryan Garcia.
He is.
You can no longer trust that Devin will be able to weather the shot when he so clearly couldn't against Ryan Garcia. This recalibrates.
Changes everything.
So the WBC is going to let him keep his belt, but to do what? To go fight Subriel? To go fight Teofimo? Come on.
Come on.
It was a demoralizing beating he suffered at the hands of a guy he was so widely favored to defeat. I am feeling secondhand embarrassment for him and his father because I drunk the Kool-Aid.
And psychologically?
Here is a fighter who already doesn't commit to his punches and already doesn't land with much authority. What does this do to his confidence, getting beat like this in front of so many people in a fight that he was widely favored to win? How does he recover from it psychologically moving forward? Some fighters get beat like this, they're never the same afterwards. And you could say that Devin is young.
He's got time.
Though who's going to respect him? I'm not talking about outside of the ring and what people say. I'm talking about inside of the ring and what the fighters do. A lot of guys are going to feel froggy. This guy can't punch and he can't take a punch. I'll walk through him.
That's what they're going to tell themselves.
I didn't think of Ryan Garcia as a top-level lightweight, a top-level super lightweight. I still don't think of him as one now. I just overestimated Devin Haney and the fighter that he is.
What he can do.
There are still a lot of people out there, I think, would chew Ryan up and spit him out.
But now the same applies to Devin, and that is what changed.
That you are not so good at what you do. You are not above getting your fucking ass kicked up and down that ring. You're not. You are food for the gods.
Low-hanging fruit.
If that seems harsh to you, I'm not here to coddle fighters. None of these guys pay any bills.
I ain't on nobody's team.
But he's throwing me a sack of money for sympathy, so until I do, that's reality. This kid is fish food.